Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new and another episode of Alex and Deus talk about football. And of course, almost 24 hours after the big party, the back-to-back Champions League trophy for Paris Saint-Germain. And I would say, Alex, with a big name on top of everything. Luis Enrique, the last year, man coach of the year. And this year, even if there's going to be a World Cup winner by any coach, Portugal, England, whoever comes up, I think this belongs to Luis Enrique.
Absolutely. Luis Enrique, he's won 3 Champions League titles, as we've often pointed out. One with Barcelona, now 2 with PSG. Excellent. He's right up there with Pep Guardiola, with Zidane, with Bob Paisley. But of course, Ancelotti with 5 victories in the Champions League. He's the leader. But certainly Luis Enrique, you're right. He's right up there with the top names. Now, I'd say there was a difference between last night's final and the final last year. PSG beat Inter Milan 5-0 in Munich last year. It was a walkover, but yesterday they were made to really work for the victory. And the big surprise for me was the impenetrable Arsenal defence. I never thought they'd be able to keep PSG out so long. And don't forget, this was a big night. There was footballing royalty at the Puskás Arena in Budapest on the banks of the River Danube. There was Arsene Wenger, there was Luis Figo, there was Rafa Benitez. So all these very critical eyes. And I was amazed that Arsenal's defence managed to keep out PSG for 120 minutes, but that, of course, cost them because after Kai Havertz scored the goal, there was nothing up front from Arsenal, 2 shots on target, and that was, of course, not enough. How did you see? Were you surprised by the defence?
No, absolutely not. But what I was surprised is that after Kai Havertz scoring the first goal, and don't forget, not many German players have scored in 2 Champions League finals. The first in 2021 against Chelsea, which gave the win. At the time, it was Timo Werner and Kai Havertz with Thomas Tuchel, and of course N'Golo Kante. Big quality on the defense with Rudiger and Thiago Silva. Different system that was implemented in Chelsea that is now in Arsenal. And after the goal, I thought, okay, maybe Arsenal are going to put up some counterattacks to try to take advantage of Bukayo Saka on one side, Kai Havertz, which is we would say a shadow, a fake number 9, because he is in real part, I would say, an offensive midfielder with a lot of goal, a lot of last touch, a lot of last pass, a lot of assists, and very creative. But when I start looking at Bukayo Saka on one side, Trossard on the other side, and they were always managing to do 2-on-1 against the wingers from Paris Saint-Germain. And then I understood, okay, Arteta is going to try to defend a result from the 6th minute until the 90th minute. And he had the gunners. They had some, I would say, not so heavy guns, but some guns to try to take advantage of the back of the defensive line of Paris, because even the goal, it comes from a mistake of Marquinhos, that the ball goes against the arm of Trossard. That's why Hakimi, who was already waiting for the ball on way up his line, and the goal was created on that side. I think they could have reached more, Arsenal, but I'm not surprised. The best defensive team this year in Champions League by far.
Just 7 goals
But you could
conceded. Just 7 goals conceded in the Champions League. That is amazing. Yeah.
and never lost the game in the 90 minutes. Never lost the game.
Unbelievable.
I would say last year, even with a 5-0 against Inter Milan, I think this was one of the most, if not the most boring game I've watched in the Champions League final. It was horrible to watch. And the Paris players, they had a lot of composure, a lot of patience, because normally you would see teams starting to shoot from outside the box, desperately trying to score, and you never saw Paris Saint-Germain do that. That's the job, the touch, the DNA of Luis Enrique, and the pressure of being Champions League winners last year with the walk in the park, like you said, because in my perspective, Inter Milan last year is better than this Arsenal. No one will try to argue with me with this. But I'm happy that Paris won because they play better football. They have better players. Even today on social media, people are talking about what a performance by Bukayo Saka, what a performance from Havertz, what a What a performance from Declan Rice. Did you watch Vitinha, Dembele, and Kvaratskhelia play 90 minutes?
Well, I wasn't too impressed with Bukayo Saka, to be quite honest, but there's a reason for that. I thought he was completely harmless up front. I thought Madueke was the much better striker when he came on. But there's a reason why Saka was harmless. It's because he had to double so much with Mosquera on Kvaratskhelia, and they did quite a good job of keeping him quiet. And that's why Bukayo Saka was probably exhausted. He just couldn't give any more because he was defending so much. And the thing is, a lot of people say, oh, Arsenal, all they did was defend. But I think if they had opened up, they would have conceded 4 or 5 goals against PSG. So the only way to keep this brilliant side at bay was to defend with 11 players. That is the reason why they just didn't go for that second goal. And I think that's the reason why they didn't
Alex,
win.
So the message is clear. Arteta and the Arsenal players are telling us Paris has a better coach and a better lack of players, a better quality of players.
Well, Arteta will have to work on his attack next season. I think he's got an excellent defensive lineup, a very organized and disciplined team, but I think he needs better strikers. With all due respect, as you said, Havertz is not a classic number 9. Gyökeres, I thought, was harmless when he came on, completely invisible. I think if Arteta can build up front, they'll be a good side. Arsenal will be back, I think. But what I found really disappointing, set pieces and corners were part of their strong points all last season, but they only had 4 corners, which shows how little they attacked, I think, yeah? The second half...
That shows the game plan, the lack of game plan. And don't forget, Alex, this is a very interesting moment. In the end of the first half, the almost expiring the few minutes, the 6 minutes, I think, after the break, before the halftime, they had a corner. And because of that method of taking so long, which is against the rules, but with all the respect, Premier League referees, with all the respect, all games with Arsenal. And Daniel Ziebert yesterday said, yeah, you already passed the 6-second or 10-second clock. It's over. No corner kick and quiet. No complaint or else yellow card. This is the Champions League. With all the respect, you can do this in the Premier League, where the referee quality.
This is going to be at the World Cup. They're going to, the 5 seconds and not any longer. So that showed us a little bit what to expect in summer. I think when PSG started to take risks in the second half, that's when they started to look really good. And when they took a risk, that brilliant 1-2 between Dembele and Kvaratskhelia, that led to the penalty when Mosquera brought down Kvaratskhelia. I've seen replays today that showed that Mosquera got the ball first, but let's face it, it was a penalty. And PSG...
That's a penalty.
Yeah, it was a penalty. Dembele, very well taken, Dembele, Parisian penalty, 1-1. And then, of course, the penalty shootout. Nobody really likes penalty shootouts. Eze, what a terrible penalty. Gabriel hammers it over the crossbar. That was really sad because Gabriel was brilliant all season and he was very good last night too against PSG. But as Thierry Henry said, you don't let your defender take the last vital penalty. And I just don't understand why Gabriel, but apparently he wanted to take it. It was a terrible penalty, but he knows it. I think that had Kai Havertz not been substituted, he would have been among the penalty takers, and who knows how the game would have ended then. But congratulations,
but
let's
Alex,
say.
You can look on the other side to Paris Saint-Germain because you can say there were missing some finesse players in terms of putting the ball in from the penalty spot. But on Paris Saint-Germain, no Vitinha, no Dembele, no Kvaratskhelia, no one was there to score the penalties. I think even more the pressure was bigger on the Champions League winners from last year. They felt the pressure. When Nuno Mendes missed that penalty, I saw in the eyes of Luis Enrique. He felt that moment.
Yeah.
He felt it. But then when I always think we never play the Champions League final. Of course, it's easy to sit back in our chair and do this podcast. But I've always heard since I'm a little boy, if you have any pressure, if you're not 100% certain, just shoot in the middle. because the goalkeeper needs to have a lot of guts in a Champions League penalty shootout in the final to stay in the middle and not grab and try to grab that ball. Gabriel should have done that. He could have scored, but even the ball, the way he puts it, too, it was too powerful. It doesn't look like he trained a lot.
Yeah.
And Arsenal, with all the respect to Arteta, if you're planning to score a goal and close the game, because this was planned, of course, not to score the goal, but try to tire out Paris Saint-Germain and maybe bring them to extra time to the penalty shootout. If you have this game plan, you have to practice a penalty shootout. I'm sorry, you have to practice.
Absolutely.
And Eze, which I'm not a big fan of Eze. I think Kai Havertz is, even as an offensive midfielder, 2 or 3 times better than Eze, but that's just social media screaming out that Eze is a world-class player. And then you saw, when you need more, Odegaard, Declan Rice, Gyökeres, the elite, that they should be the elite players. They are seen as the world-class players. And then you look at Paris Saint-Germain, Desiré Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Dembélé, Vitinha, João Neves, and then you reach for Gonçalo Ramos, a guy almost never plays and has the cold blood to put it in. That's the world-class players. And sorry, Arsenal doesn't have maybe 1 or 2 world-class players. The rest is average, good level of players. They're not compared to
I
Paris
think
Saint-Germain.
Gabriel is a world-class defender. I really think Gabriel. And it was really nice to see Marquinhos, his Brazilian teammate at the center of the Brazilian defense, come across and hug him and try and console him. I thought that was great sportsmanship from Marquinhos. Incidentally, talking about Marquinhos, he was in all 3 of PSG's Champions League finals. That is something. 1 they lost, 2 they've won. A legendary figure, Marquinhos. Let me just tell you at the end, Antonio, my moment of the Champions League season. I've been thinking a lot of that. For me, it was Anatoly Trubin, the Benfica keeper, his header in the 96th minute when he scored against Real Madrid to see Benfica through. That was a phenomenal moment. And Jose Mourinho, who was in charge of Benfica, of course, on that night, he said he's seen it all before, but that for him was a novelty.
Yeah, I agree. It was an eruption in Lisbon. But then you would see the revenge. They played again in the playoffs. That's almost scripted against Real Madrid. And even without Arbeloa, Benfica had the chances to win in Santiago Bernabéu. They could have reached the other stage and then try to play for the quarterfinals. And of course, props to Sporting, which reached for the first time in this model of competition in UEFA Champions League since the 90s. They've reached for the first time the quarterfinals, and the team that beat Paris Saint-Germain in the group stage, in the league stage, don't forget, Sporting, they beat Paris Saint-Germain in Alvalade. And of course, and I would say my biggest deception would be Bayern. I was waiting for Bayern to play in the Champions League final. And of course, there is no ifs or maybes in football, but if yesterday, I would say in the case of yesterday, Bayern would be playing the final against Arsenal, I think it would be a walk on the par like it was from Paris to Inter Milan last year. I think Bayern, with the revenge of the loss of the defeat in the league stage, I think Bayern would have crushed.
I doubt it. I doubt it very much
Arsenal,
because Arsenal kept PSG at bay, and I think PSG are much more dangerous than Bayern, as we saw. Don't forget, PSG
more dangerous,
scored 6 goals against Bayern. 6 goals.
True, but Bayern went to Parc des Princes and went 2-1 and played 45 minutes with one less player with a red
long
card.
time ago.
But unfortunately, I even forgot his name. The right back from Croatia. Stanisic. Unfortunately for Bayern, Stanisic played 180 minutes, and of the 6 goals conceded against Paris Saint-Germain, 4 are his fault. That's the problem. Bayern doesn't have an elite player there. But even with that said, Paris yesterday had difficulties because they don't have a elite number 9, a guy that scores 40 goals. They have excellent wingers, Kvaratskhelia, Dembélé playing on the middle yesterday, changing a little bit between him and Desiré Doué. And the real number 9 is Gonçalo Ramos, a guy that scores 10, 15 goals per year in Paris, and he's not in the lineup. If yesterday, Bayern with Harry Kane playing there and Olise the way he played this year and Luis Diaz, I think they would have crushed. Arsenal.
Yeah,
Don't forget, Bayern are
that's
six-time European champions.
they weren't there. Bayern weren't there. PSG were there.
That's the
Arsenal were
truth.
there. Congratulations
Thanks
to
to
PSG.
Stanisic. Thanks to Stanisic.
No, that's being a bit
Yeah,
mean
let's
on
talk, Alex,
Stanisic.
just about the team of the season. Champions League, they gave Raya the goalkeeper of the season. We can agree. Yeah, we agree. David Raya. Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Good,
the
good
right,
penalty save
Llorente.
yesterday. Very good penalty save
Yeah.
yesterday.
Marcos Llorente from Atletico Madrid was the right defender. We can discuss with Hakimi. We can discuss. In
Hakimi
the
for
center,
me. Hakimi for me.
Marquinhos.
Hakimi for me.
Yeah, I agree. In the center backs, Marquinhos and Gabriel.
Absolutely.
I'll give it to Gabriel. I don't like a lot. I don't think he's elite. Way far from the elite, but okay. Nuno Mendes on the left. Let's skip it. There's no discussion. In the midfield, Vitinha and Declan Rice. I'm putting out Declan Rice and putting in João Neves. No chance. No, I don't accept to discuss on this one. No. You agree with me. Beautiful. On the right, Olise. Nothing to say. On the left, they put up a 4-2-4. I understand why. On the left, Kvaratskhelia.
Absolutely. No chance to discuss that.
Yeah. And the two forwards, Dembele and Harry Kane. It's difficult for me to leave out Luis Diaz, Joshua Kimmich, very, very consistent, elite player. But I understand Dembele has to play there, and he's a Champions League winner. He hasn't had the same season he did last year, and this year the Ballon d'Or can be. A lot of people on social media are shouting out for Kvaratskhelia winning the Ballon d'Or. It's difficult. He has 30 goal contribution. Luis Diaz has 49. Olise has over 50. Harry Kane plus 60. But I think this team without Declan Rice and with João Neves, the guy that played almost all game, because we have to say Dembele, Kvaratskhelia and Vitinha tired out, and João Neves was still running, still playing. That's amazing.
Have we got a new dynasty with PSG?
If Luis Enrique is staying, and imagine this, Paris Saint-Germain a few years ago had Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, last year Donnarumma, all of them left, and Paris Saint-Germain are playing better than before. I think they need a replacement for Marquinhos. I think they will have to rebuild a little bit of the team. I think
He
they need
certainly said
a
he's
big
going
number nine.
to rebuild the
Yeah.
team. He said that today.
Yeah, the midfield untouchable. I think Vitinha, João Neves, Fabian Ruiz. I never liked him, but okay. Zaire Emery, Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, nothing to touch. They need a guy to replace Marquinhos with Marquinhos on the squad.
Gabriel maybe.
Pacho.
Gabriel maybe.
Sorry, he's not elite.
Oh,
Sorry for me.
he plays for
Colin
Brazil
King
in
from
central
Liverpool.
defense. He's got to be elite. Ancelotti wouldn't be picking him
Alex.
otherwise.
Politics. Thiago Silva is better than Gabriel. Change my mind.
Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
But he's
Today-
almost 40 years old, Thiago Silva.
Pep with 41 is better than ever will be Gabriel. And then we'll talk in the end of Gabriel's career. Gabriel got famous because of the set pieces, the corners.
Wow, very
Not
important.
elite tackling.
Very important. Did you see
Yeah,
his
but-
tackle yesterday? Was a brilliant tackle that was.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
No,
But
he's a
the
very
stuff
good
he does in the
defender.
Premier League, and he knows how to block the goalkeeper and the rivals in the corner kicks, which is illegal.
They,
And he's
they
gonna-
didn't
he's
do
gonna
that
suffer
yesterday.
with it in the World
though.
Cup.
They didn't do any of that yesterday. I spoke
This-
about those
because
four
Siebert was watching.
No, the four corners. They just didn't win corners, or PSG were very careful not to give away corners, knowing Arsenal's strength is from set pieces and corners. I was amazed that there were no
Absolutely.
corners that Arsenal could exploit from. Anyway, the
They
World
had one or two, yeah? One or two, but
Four corners.
not enough.
Okay,
Corner, corner.
the World Cup coming up soon, and plenty to look forward to.
I think it's going to be a very exciting World Cup. But let me just tell you, L'Équipe, the big French newspaper, they're writing today that Diogo Costa from Porto is going to sign with Paris Saint-Germain. I think Safonov is not an elite goalkeeper. I think the goal with Kai Havertz, I think he could have done a little bit more. I think. But I think it would be an elite signing. Diogo Costa, the Portuguese national goalkeeper for this World Cup, and Porto goalkeeper since the pandemic. But I think Paris Saint-Germain is going to sign a few more players. And of course, looking to the World Cup, we're going to be watching Dembele, Olise, the guys running for the Ballon d'Or, Harry Kane for England, Vitinha, the MVP of the final yesterday with Portugal. What do you think? I think Vitinha, top 3 again for the Ballon d'Or, I believe.
It's going to be somebody from PSG or Harry Kane.
Or Olise. No?
Not yet. I think you've got to be at that level for a few seasons.
Okay.
If he keeps on
Okay.
like this,
I agree.
he'll be like that in 1 or 2 seasons. But I think on the basis of 1 season, players usually don't win the Ballon d'Or. But there's a long time to go till then.
And some people are still shouting out for Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice to win the Ballon d'Or.
Now,
Unbelievable, huh?
Bukayo Saka, I don't agree with. Depends on Declan Rice's World Cup performance, but he's far away from the Ballon d'Or.
And far away from Vitinha and all the guys. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you very much for watching us. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next time.